Uh, so, my last video of the night, I've seen people reporting, hey, Erik Karlsson's officially asked to be traded out of Ottawa. No, he hasn't. Um, there was a quote from Ray Ferraro that appears to have blown up on Twitter and on various message boards, and I've been searching around the internet for hours now, and I can't find any source that says, yep. And if Ray Ferraro had inside information stating by 100% guaranteed Karlsson's asked for a trade, I'm not saying he hasn't, but if it was guaranteed, TSN would have that slathered all over their hockey page, and they don't. All of this drama going on with the Senators has me torn. And you know what's funny is, 3 years ago, nobody would have cared. Before I had a channel, nobody would have cared that I was torn on who I was cheering for. Nobody would have cared that this is a wonderful pina colada mix that just makes everything feel better. Ah, yummy pina colada mix. Because, see, there's an issue here, and this is where the whole bandwagon thing comes in, and it's all crap. I have teams I cheer for, and I have teams I don't. And I've split them up. So you've got your four main suspects. Teams I cheer for. Then you got the ones in between here that, yes, under the proper circumstances, I can see myself really rallying behind him. Then you've got the ones that I'm kind of about, I guess. And then I've got the four that I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this, and I don't know if I can cheer for them. And it moves around, and Lord knows, most of my favorite jerseys are LA King jerseys, so I'm really torn on that one. And I mean that. But Ottawa's, for me, dropping, and it's funny because for anybody who doesn't know, for anybody who's a new subscriber, the big four go that way. Now, I normally qualify it as the big three because the difference between how much I cheer for Dallas and how much I care about Ottawa is great. These three, it's close. As I've said in previous times, people say, well, who do you know who to cheer for? All right, well, let's look at it this way. Let's go ahead and just wall off Ottawa for a second. I apologize to Senators fans that you've been isolated. You got 1, 2, 3, right? That's the order I cheer for them. But let's say Vancouver's meeting Dallas, okay? And Vancouver is out of the playoffs. They're not going to make it. Dallas needs this game to make the playoffs. I will cheer for Dallas that night because I know the win doesn't mean anything to Vancouver, and it means everything to Dallas, which means Vancouver's going to get it because Dallas loses when the playoffs are on the line. It's a Dallas rite of passage, and it sucks, but I will cheer for Dallas that night, and usually I'll be rewarded with the Canucks winning a game that will drop them down in a draft position and nothing else. But that's how it works. With Ottawa, they're there. They're a team I cheer for. I've cheered for them before. You look at videos from last year's playoff run, I really, really wanted Ottawa to win. In part because they were playing these guys, and I really don't like the Penguins. And again, I've had arguments with Penguins fans, but I've done my best to be fair in my reporting. Ottawa's making it hard. Ottawa's making it hard right now because you've got Melnyk, you've got the Hoffman situation, and then you've got the Dorian part of this too. So between Melnyk threatening to move the team and then denying he threatened to move the team and then saying he's perfectly fine with the team being where it is, wink. That made me mad. Now you got this whole Hoffman-Karlsson thing. And we don't have any proof of what has or hasn't been said, but we know that these guys likely will not be able to sit in a locker room together again. So one, the other, or both could end up being traded, which reminds me of Corey Schneider and Roberto Luongo, and it is a weird situation that I'd rather not see Ottawa fans go through. And then there's Dorian, who if Pierre Dorian knew this was going on right up to the end of the season, he should, I don't know. Does he take the heat or did he go to Melnyk? We don't know exactly what's happened here. It's times like this that make it really hard to keep pulling for Ottawa. And I'm being completely honest. But it's not that unusual. And this is where, as a fan, yes, sometimes people talk about the bandwagon thing. They just take the 1, 2, and 3 off of here. Because I get asked a lot, like, well, what makes you cheer for or against a team? Well, a GM can make a difference. An owner can make a difference. Players make a difference. There was time in Vancouver when Mark Messier was here. I wasn't particularly enthused about the Vancouver Canucks at that point in time. There were points where a few years ago, Jim Benning, moves he was making, I was really unhappy with. I saw the team falling apart, and yet they were trying to put things together like they still thought they were close to a Stanley Cup, and I couldn't figure out what the hell they were doing. I still have those moments, and those test me as a fan. Boston, Mike O'Connell's entire run as a GM. His entire run as a GM, the guy just made me angry the whole way through. And when Marty McSorley was a Bruin, it was really hard to cheer for Boston. Dallas, I've had hard times with Dallas. When they had Sean Avery and Brett Hull was making decisions, I've had a hard time. So I'm not stating that my cheering for Ottawa has been negatively affected, but it's disheartening. It's disheartening, and I've gone through this with all of these teams. I mean, you look at it, the only one of my 4 teams that made the playoffs this year was Boston, and they're out in the first round. And it's disheartening when you see a team going the wrong way. The Canucks held on to the idea that the Sedins could return to their form in their mid-30s. Gave them a contract that was a lot of money at a time when I was okay with the idea of the Canucks letting them go. And that was before their last 3-year contract extension. And I love the Sedins as much as anybody else. I'm just throwing that out there. That if the Canucks had made the hard decision 3 years earlier to let the Sedins go, or some hard negotiating to get that price down, and I don't think it would have got the price down. I think they would have gone somewhere else. But I think they'd be further along in their rebuild right now. And with Dallas, it's been goaltending, defense. It gets really hard year after year. This year, even when they were doing well, I was like, man, I'm waiting for this defense to fall apart. And I had Dallas fans, rightfully so, call me out and going, what the hell's wrong with you? It's kind of a shell-shock mentality that can take over when you're a fan. And then for me, it becomes a matter of, okay, if you sat me down and said, who would you see yourself potentially, let's just say that Ottawa makes me so PO'd that they just fall down into some kind of a purgatory, which has happened with Vancouver and Boston and Dallas, where I say, yeah, I can't cheer for you guys this year because you're just a mess, and there isn't really a whole lot there that I feel good about. I could totally see Florida getting in there for the sake that Florida never wins anything, and I would like to see Florida get somewhere. Winnipeg is a team that I think it would be very enjoyable to see go another round beyond where they went this year in the playoffs. The Capitals, I'd feel like a bandwagoner if I jumped on with the Capitals right now. And yet the Capitals have been team number 4 way back in the past. And this is the funny thing, because people will ask, well, what makes you cheer for or against a team? Well, if a team's going to bump up, honestly, it's going to... The first thing is they're probably going to be an underdog. The second thing I look at is, do I like the players? So notice I don't look at what city they're from. I don't look at their attendance. I don't look at... I ask myself, are they underdogs? Are they a team I can really rally behind? Like a Bad News Bears type situation? Or are they favorites? So is it just a case of I can just throw Nashville in there and then, everybody like, oh, now you cheer for Nashville, whatever. And again, it's a strange situation, because for a lot of other people, they watch and they're like, well, you just cheer for one team, so you should just cheer for Vancouver, and everybody else just falls behind. I've never worked that way. Remember when I was a kid and I had hockey cards, and I would separate them by teams, and I would always organize them by who my favorite team was to my least favorite team, and I went by the players I liked the best. So, for instance, the Whalers were always high because I loved Blaine Stoughton. I thought Blaine Stoughton was awesome, and that was when Mark Howe was in Hartford. I'm that old. And, that always kept them high up for me. Now they're in Carolina. They're not the way. If they were the Whalers, odds are, if they'd stayed in Hartford, odds are they're team number 4. And I'm not saying that to insult Carolina fans, but it hurt me as a Whalers fan to see them move. The Nordiques. if the Nordiques were still in the league, they would be team number 4, and Ottawa would probably be team number 5 on my favorite rankings. That being said, Colorado had a fun run this year, and it'd be fun to see them do it again. And there are other teams in this area who I could absolutely see myself pulling for in the fall. But the thing is, with all the Carlson stuff and all this other crap going on, I have this whole feeling like I haven't had with Ottawa since the dark days with Yashin. And for Sens fans wondering which ones, I mean when Yashin was holding out. When Yashin didn't want to play, he wanted to renegotiate his contract, although he already had one. And he sat out, and it was just, it was like, why doesn't management just trade him? What is going on? When is this just going to end? And then they make an incredible deal with the Islanders that benefits them greatly. And I was able to relax that following year and pull for them and hope that the Islanders finished dead last with Yashin, because I couldn't stand Alexei Yashin after that. At this stage, I'm still a Senators fan, but it's going to be really interesting to see what they do from here, because, in the court of public opinion, whether it's right or wrong, it matters in this day and age. And the court of public opinion is that with the drama that's going on, certain players are popular and certain ones aren't. Now, if Carlson's asked to be traded, that is truly disastrous. He is the face of the Ottawa Senators. He is the biggest star in that city, and they won't get back fair market value. That's the trick. Because if a team knows he wants out, they're going to be like, it's a shame about Carlson. Here's what we're offering. And for Dorian, it's going to be, well, that's not enough. They're going to be like, yeah, he's not coming back to play for you, is he? Like, are we looking at a situation where if Carlson doesn't get moved, that potentially in the fall he sits home? And what if they trade both Hoffman and Carlson? Or what if they trade... and the reason I bring up what happened with Luongo and Schneider is simple. So you've got stupid situation where Eddie Lack is replacing Roberto Luongo. And looking at it now, it looks stupid. Back then I was like, Lack's probably outplaying Luongo a bit. And Luongo got mad about it, and he ended up out of the city. But before that even happened, you rewind further, you've got Corey Schneider taking his job. So Corey Schneider is taking his job. The Canucks are kind of like, well, we're going with Schneider going forward as their starter. And Luongo's kind of like, okay, well, I'm out the door. And they traded Schneider for a draft pick that became Bo Horvat. It's fine. I like Bo Horvat a lot. But then you end up with a situation where it's Lack and Luongo, and almost right away after that, Lack's taking Luongo's job, and Luongo gets traded anyways. So you go from a team that has both Schneider and Luongo and looks like they can at least rely on their goaltending, and instead they got nothing. If both Hoffman and Carlson in some bizarro land end up getting traded, and here's how it happens. Carlson says, screw you guys, I'm done. Because remember, one of the rumors that's been out there is that he got into a very public locker room spat with Eugene Melnyk, where Melnyk gave him a public dressing down in front of his teammates, and he hasn't talked to Melnyk since then. I haven't seen any reports for or against this report over the last couple of months, but that's out there. I didn't hear any denials from Carlson either. So that's out there that he has this fight with the owner. Now, if there's this harassment going on, he's convinced it's coming from a teammate. And he's like, look, I'm done. I'm getting harassed by an owner. I've got a teammate's crazy girlfriend is harassing me, and he's telling me it's not happening. I've publicly confronted him, and I'm done. I'm done with this drama. I want to go to Vegas. I want to go to California. I want to play on a team where I'm not going to have to worry about drama. I'll go to the Ducks. I'll give them the defense that they need, and maybe they can win a Stanley Cup. Right? And the Ducks are a good fit. If they can get the cap to work, Ducks are actually a great fit. But anyways, because almost anybody is when you're getting Erik Karlsson. So the Senators make that move. Well, you can't really keep Hoffman, can you? You can try. But how many players now on this team are going to be like, man, screw him. We loved Erik. Eric was a great guy, and I've never heard anybody say anything about Eric that he's not a great guy. So Eric's a great guy. You know what? We're kind of done, and Mike knew this crap was going on. This was going on for months, so this isn't something new. Guys in the locker room knew this was going on, and so Pierre Dorian's like, all right, well, I got to trade Hoffman too. So the rumor is that for Karlsson, it's going to be a top 4 defenseman, a first rounder, and a prospect. Somebody's going to do that. But is that top 4 defenseman going to be as good as Karlsson? No. If you trade Hoffman right now, are you going to get back fair market value? Probably not, based on the drama. So you're looking at a Senators team coming off of a down year that they finished near the bottom of the league. You lose your number 1 defenseman, one of your top 6 forwards. You're shedding a bunch of points off the team. You're not getting back parts that are as good. And your number 1 draft pick belongs to the Colorado Avalanche. And that is what would make it very difficult for me if this summer goes the way it's going, to still have Ottawa in the top 4. And I hate to say it, because I've been there with Vancouver, where Vancouver was in purgatory, Boston, Dallas, I've been there. But as a guy now that has a channel, and there's 46,000 and some odd subscribers, it looks bad. I know it looks bad. But I have to be honest with you guys, all of this, just this drama, and where this could end up. I honestly hope somehow, some way, this can get patched up. I just don't know how. And it does affect my ability to, just as a fan say, oh yeah, no, I love them. They're great. Because I'm not sure, and it's too bad because last year, you think about it, they had the Clark MacArthur storyline, which was fantastic. The Craig Anderson storyline, all the fans rallying around Craig Anderson. And it was this Jean-Gabriel Pageau was this great emotional leader in the playoffs. All of these great storylines in Ottawa. And now we are a year later, and it's just a mess. So there you go. I'm not saying that they're not in the top 4. They're still in the top 4. I'm just saying that if at some point during the summer I throw my arms in the air and I say, I can't do this. This is awful. This is... yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I have family in the Ottawa Valley. It's why I kind of rallied around Ottawa when they joined the league. My mother was a huge Senators fan. I got along really well with my mother growing up, so I was perfectly fine with cheering on Ottawa. And then they had the horrible first season in the NHL, and I was like, oh. So ultimate underdogs and some really nice players on that team. Yeah, they weren't very talented as a team, but they were really nice guys. And so it's a team that I haven't been in this situation with since Yashin. And even then it was more of a dislike of Yashin than necessarily about the management. But right now, it's so hard. So if you're a Senators fan and you're struggling with this and saying, man, this is a rough offseason, you're not alone. And I'll be interested to see where this goes from here. So this is as close as I'm going to get to talking about any kind of rumors about Karlsson, because I haven't heard anything confirmed. But this is the dilemma I face as a fan all the time, where because I follow all 31 teams, there are storylines that can change my opinion on a team. And it makes it look like I'm jumping on or off of a bandwagon. And I know that. I'm aware of that. But to me, a bandwagon is about wins. And it's about, let's say, Vegas on July 1st signs John Tavares. And all of a sudden you've got thousands of people saying, I love Vegas now. Vegas is going to win. I always believed in Vegas. That to me is more of a bandwagon thing. The non-bandwagon thing would already be to have been a fan of Vegas before their first game. And then when they signed Tavares, say, this is great. We're going forward. And again, you look at the teams that are in this category where, yeah, I can pull for them. Yes, these guys won a Stanley Cup. They won it in 2004. They won it in 2006. They won it in 2001 and 1996. No. And for that, Minnesota's moved up. And if you look at others, not having won a Stanley Cup definitely differentiates you from the pack. And means that, yeah, you can probably look and say, yeah, no, Shannon could. But because, again, I love the underdog, which is why I'm usually disappointed on Stanley Cup Day. Why this year was so weird. Even the live reaction to me seeing the Washington Capitals win the Stanley Cup, I'm like, when's reality going to hit? This doesn't feel real. What's going on here? Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And what I'm looking for is the moment in time where whatever team you cheer for, when it was the hardest to cheer for them, when it was the hardest to root for them, and when you're like, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore, and what brought you out of it. Because absolutely Ottawa can reclaim that top 4 spot. They're not going to pass Dallas, Boston, or Vancouver unless something amazingly bad happens. And I don't know. So I can't think of a situation where the top 3 would change. I really can't. I do criticize Vancouver quite a bit, but I do that because they are my favorite team and I'm really hard on them. I am, for people who are new to the channel, veterans of the channel will tell you, I am harder on the teams I cheer for than I am on other teams. I see the weaknesses, I see the problems, and I see when they're not doing the right things to fix them. And I call them out on it. So there you go. All right. If you made it this far, thanks for making it this far. Thanks for watching. This has kind of been not an intervention, but because I'm still drinking. But, it's kind of felt like this is sort of a window into the madness that leads to all the magnets. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.